Hey everybody, this is Cody Knight 22 here. Welcome to episode number 15 of Cody Talks Fanfiction. Before I really do get into some other things, I would like to say, what a kick-ass new intro. That was done by the ever so wonderful Scott McKilveen, the man responsible for the intro 1 and the intro 2, also responsible for the new thumbnail. Figured it was time to get a new thumbnail. And yeah, it's awesome. I love it. So send love. You can leave your love in the comments, or you can tweet him on the Twitter account that he never uses. That'll be linked in the description below. Absolutely great intro though. I really do like it. Bonus points to anybody that can figure out what the text is, what the passage is for the text that's at the end of the thing. It made me laugh when I realized what it was. If you do, then just let me know in the comments, because it'll make me happy. But you're not really here to hear me talk about the intro for 20 to 40 minutes. Or wait, what was the longest thing I ever did? 20 to an hour. 20 minutes to an hour. You're here to hear me talk about fanfiction. More specifically, this episode is the author spotlight. That's right, the flashy text is on your screen. That means that the author spotlight is back in town. And ladies and gentlemen, do I have quite an author spotlight for you this week. I like to be in the game when I actually say like what the theme is, but you know, author spot. Oh, I forgot that I did this. I'm in camera mode for Let's Play That Was Lost for XP hoarders. Yeah, no. But sorry. So this week's author spotlight is going to be one that I think that people have probably been expecting me to do, but I haven't done because I hadn't read anything by this particular person. Really, since the author spotlights kind of came into existence, primarily I do try to make author spotlights focus a little bit more about one-shot writers, given the fact that I don't cover one-shots in this series, because covering one-shots honestly is a lot different than covering an actual full-length story. And I can't really do it. It's too little to go off of. I can't really do it. So I like to give the authors of these one-shots a little bit of attention, because authors generally who do one-shot rarely leave it at one. Generally, you'll see a bunch. So I had to find a new one-shot writer for this week. Actually, originally I came in with a good idea of who I wanted said writer to be, but then a name got thrown around to me a little bit. So I decided to investigate. And after investigation, I will say I am very pleased to say that this week's author spotlight is going to be momoxtoshiro / hanasaku shijin. momoxtoshiro is her fanfiction URL. Hanasaku shijin is her Tumblr URL. Just so that I can clear up why I said both. No, yeah, so it's gonna be which one is it? Yeah, so this one's gonna be Hanasaku shijin. By the way, I will say this. I'm going to be referring to her as Hanasaku shijin rather than momoxtoshiro. I'm primarily on fanfiction.net, or primarily known for fanfiction.net. But I read a lot of works on I've recently made a Tumblr, as some of you may be aware of, and so I've been seeing mostly, god damn it, did you get out of the pen? Anyways, sorry. So I've been seeing a lot of posts by her. So to me, she is Hanasaku shijin. She's not momoxtoshiro. She is Hanasaku shijin. I hope that I'm not completely butchering that name. Because Lord knows I do not have a good track record with pronouncing names. Hi, Elfin Lead. So yeah, this is going to be the author spotlight covering her. And I will say this, Hanasaku shijin is probably the most prolific author. She has written an insane amount of words for the RWBY fanfiction. She has a ton of one-shots. I didn't actually want to count, so just believe me when I say a ton, because it is a lot. And I'm gotta say, all of the ones that I read, which is a grand total of 15 stories, grand total of 15 stories. Oh, I did the math earlier and I got 17, I think. I'm retarded. 15 stories by her, and all of them were, I don't know what I'm doing. All of them were great. I have to say full props to Miss Shijin, because they were all great. I really thoroughly enjoyed all of them, from the fluff to the not fluff. Some of them angst, some of them not, to the really fluffy. They're all really, really well done. I got in 15 fairly diverse stories. I will say this right off the bat. I set out with the goal 3 Bumblebee, 3 White Rose. Well, actually, I set out with the goal 2 Bumblebee, 2 White Rose, 2 Freezer Burn, 2 Ladybug. I covered it. Oh, 2 Monochrome. Turns out that 3 stories got recommended to me, and all 3 of them were White Rose. So I said, and whatever, I'll just do 3 White Rose, 3 Bumblebee, 3, you know, etc., etc., etc. Also, does not technically have 3 Freezer Burn stories. That threw me through a loop. I really got confused after that. I did not know what to do. But I bounced back quickly. I just read 3 stories with a picture of Yang and Weiss on the cover. So, it's been a little bit since I've done the author spotlight, so I do apologize for the form kind of not being up to par with how they normally are. But you know, give me a break. The 3 stories, the 15 stories that I did cover were for White Rose, warming up, or wait, hang on. So they will all be color-coded according to the ship. Warming up, the Huntress and the Heiress. Transiency. Sweeter than honey, teammates, gold, caretaker, the White Martyr, a shoulder to cry on, hot and cold, opposites attract, living on the edge, cats in cat ears and coffee, warm laundry, moonbeams, howl, take a penny, tooth and nail. I read all of the main ships, and then I read 3 stories that I would qualify as other. The other stories are Howl, Take a Penny, and Tooth and Nail. So that is Angst with no ship, a penny-centered story, and Sunweiss, which I read because I haven't seen a ton of that ship. And by a ton, I mean I've seen absolutely no stories involving that ship up to this point. So I decided to give it a shot. Really, really well done. I really enjoyed that story. Yeah, there's not a ton more to go into with that one, with obviously the stories that I said. So let's just jump right into it. What do I think of Miss Shijin? Well, I will go ahead and say that she's not only the most prolific, but in my opinion, she is probably the best writer on a consistent basis, the best author on a consistent basis. In order to be considered for that, you have to have multiple stories. She's the best author, though, on a consistent basis. She has however many stupidly high amounts of one-shots that she has done, and then she has one full-length story, very, very few multi-chaptered stories, and just all of them are good. All of them are at the bare minimum really good, which is impressive. That is a ton of work to pull off, to not have a single bad egg. I think that the Huntress and the Heiress is the first story that she did for the RWBY fandom, and I read that, so that would have been the one that I did not like, that I thought was maybe worse than the others. But really, no, the Huntsman and the God damn it, the Huntress and the Heiress. I'll be honest, I do practice a little bit of what I think I'm going to say before these videos. I keep saying the Huntsman and the Heiress. It's the Huntress and the Heiress. I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry, guys. All of them are really, really good at the bare minimum. The Huntsman, God damn it, the Huntress and the Heiress. I really enjoyed that story. It was really, really well done. It honestly is one of my favorites. I think maybe third, maybe second. Hard to say definitively, because you know the 15 stories that I read were all great, and I would love to go back and read more. But right now I cannot do that. Obviously, I have other obligations to fill. But goddamn, it was really, 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 really well done. So let's go more. I'm just saying that she's good right now. I mean, it's kind of just me saying that she's good over and over again. Like, okay, we get it. How is she good? Well, I have a couple points ready to say how she is good. The first of which is going to be the most obvious one. Relationships. She understands relationships extraordinarily well. I love the way she does relationships. It is super, super clean and concise every single time. You feel as though you are getting something good out of it, out of these relationships every single time. You feel as though that every time you read one of the way that she does relationship, she is very, very good, and this is kind of a big thing, about hitting on the points of why there are some desperate ships that are kind of last ditch and people hold on to by a thread. Sun and Weiss is one that I consider to be one of those ships. And she hit on every single reason, which isn't many, why that relationship would work, and she made it sound more believable. Excuse me. And so the way that the relationships are done is quite well. Perfect understanding of White Rose, of what I view White Rose to potentially be, and it changed my view a little bit on it because it just made more sense. And obviously her White Rose stories, she does more of those, and they're great. She has, I'd say, probably the best understanding of White Rose out of any author. I'd also say that she has the best understanding of Bumblebee, Monochrome, Freezer Burn, Aeon. I would be willing, only one that I would consider maybe a little bit lacking on, and this is totally not her, this is all me, would be the Ladybug, because there's almost nothing on Ladybug. Ladybug, just, it doesn't get much love with her, so I cannot say that that she does Ladybug well, because she has kind of Ladybug stories, but not really all the way in. But otherwise, the relationships are done beautifully. Another point that I want to hit on with her is, and this is going to be a point that I'm going to bring up no matter what throughout the future, whether or not I liked it, whether or not the story had it, and that is going to be atmosphere. Atmosphere is very important when writing. Atmosphere can really change the story. If you can get a physical reaction out of your readers, that is a huge accomplishment. And I'll be honest, Hanasaku Shijin, you did do this with one of your stories. Actually, two or three. I think it was either 2 or 3. But atmosphere is super, super important. You want to have this atmosphere in there that makes it feel like more than you're just reading, and she has that. Even with her shorter stories that you wouldn't really consider, 90% of, 99.99% of the RWBY fandom, fanfiction writers, would not be able to create a proper atmosphere in 1,500 words. She creates a proper atmosphere in 1,500 words. Does that and goes above and beyond that proper atmosphere. I was just remember reading some of her stories and thinking, how am I feeling as though there's a physical presence, wasn't reacting physically. How do I feel as though there's a physical presence? I've only been reading a couple hundred words, maybe 1,000. She does it. I mean, she does it every single time, and it's always so impressive how much of a good control she has over atmosphere. Characterization is big. She has very, very good characterization. I love her interpretation of Weiss. I especially love her interpretation of Yang, because it doesn't feel like that cookie cutter mold Yang that we all kind of get right now, as we don't really know a ton about her. It doesn't break the mold. It fits the mold, but it fits the mold and then some, as in there's really kind of enough for 2 cookies in there, I guess. And who doesn't love more cookies? But she does it remarkably well. And Yang is kind of this character that is generally portrayed very similarly to each other from story to story, and that's the case here. But you know, yeah, this Yang, she's different. She is different from the other Yangs. I can't explain why, but she's different from the other Yangs, and it's better. It feels better. I actually just said that there are these that Weiss and Yang, I think, are the 2 characters she does the best, which it is. You know, RWBY and Blake are done well as well, but not quite to the point that I think that Weiss and Yang are. And one of her Freezer Burn stories was Opposites Attract. It was either Opposites Attract or Hot and Cold. I'm having a little bit of trouble keeping all of the stories that I did read straight, because there's a lot. Hot and Cold. Okay. Yes, it was Hot and Cold. Was just done in a great way. It was the perfect balance of just arguments. It was so good, and it made me a big... honestly, I consider adding Freezer Burn to kind of... Not my OTPs. You stay away from my White Rose and my Bumblebee, but My secondary things that I kind of stuff everything else into, I definitely put it in there now. I didn't really before. Freezer Burn, I was like, yeah, it makes sense to me. I don't really ship it though, but now I do, because that story was great, and that story showed me every single reason why I should ship Freezer Burn, and I do now. Shamelessly, I ship everything pretty much, Firefox and Hot Cocoa. But yeah, so her characterizations are great. I love it when she does fluff, but angstier. I'm saying angstier because I don't know if you'd qualify all of these as angst per se, but when I say angstier, I do mean Transiency, Gold, and Howl are really kind of the three. Angstier, I'm saying that one for Gold because I don't know if everybody would say, oh yeah, Gold is an angst story. It was angsty. It was angsty. I wouldn't call it 100% angst either, but angsty definitely. But I absolutely loved it. I love it when she does that because Gold would be the one that got a physical reaction out of me. Gold would be the one where my heart, I can tell you this much, my heartbeat was accelerating. I generally mutter to myself, but not quite as prominently as I did while reading Gold. And it was just so well done. And that's like, and you know, kind of my logic there. She does such a great job at setting things up with only 1,500 words. Now you give her a couple thousand words. Think of what she could do. Transiency and Howl also remarkably well done. I really, really enjoyed Transiency. Do have some things to say about those later on though. So I definitely think that angst, she does it so well. I understand she probably likes writing fluff more. Who doesn't? Me. But she probably enjoys writing fluff a lot more, but her angst is great. Her angst is really, really well done. Next points I want to hit on are probably the more underrated points. Kind of going to a couple of very underrated points. One of them is going to be shipping without romance, where this was especially prominent, I think, in the monochrome stories that I happened to read, which was the White Martyr, Caretaker, and A Shoulder to Cry On. And I do not believe in one of those that at the very end that it was Weiss and Blake was there ever really officially stated Weiss and Blake love each other. No, was not. But wait for the buts. It was implied so perfectly you knew. You just knew. And that is perfect. She was able to portray it to an audience as dumb as me because there was symbolism, I'm not going to lie, there was symbolism in Gold that was, I wouldn't say, yeah, blatantly obvious. I will say blatantly obvious that I missed until she had to explain it to me in the actual story. But she gave her readers credit for being smart, and she was able to portray it in such a way that even the readers of us that may not pick up on some of these things were able to tell. And it was not just the fact that the story was labeled monochrome, but it felt like that. It, once again, the presence to the story, the presence that the story carried, it felt like that. Really, really love it. And this is, I can guarantee you that this is the most underrated point, and that maybe she may have never gotten another review quite like this. The line breaks are one of my favorite parts. Line breaks can really aid or kill a story. Because when you use line breaks, a lot of times, you know, you can not use enough of them and make the story less good. You can use too many of them and have the story lose proper pacing. She has the perfect amount of line breaks, and I'm so spoiled. I went in and I read Choice, the newest chapter of Choice, sometime recently, a fan fiction that I really enjoyed. And I just remember reading that and thinking, line breaks aren't as good. She has spoiled the shit out of me with her stories. I love them. I love those line breaks so much. It's like, oh God, I would love to teach me how to use line breaks. That's one of my favorite parts. It probably might be my favorite part about her fan fiction. Line breaks are done perfectly to where they aid the story, and they don't they don't kill the flow. They add to the flow. They change the way that you read things. It's so perfect. And I'm such a weirdo for finding her line breaks so, I don't know. I'm going to say her line breaks are attractive. I would marry her for her line breaks. I don't judge by I mean, I know I'm not supposed to judge by physical beauty, but those line breaks, man, they're just so sexy, and I love them. I love every last one of them. And I'm sorry, that is like the strangest thing that I've ever said on this show. Not the strangest thing that I've ever said, period. Or sorry, strangest thing that I've ever said on the show that will make it into the final cut. But I absolutely adore the line breaks. That's my favorite thing that she does. You know, scratch that. It's my favorite thing that she does. How well she utilizes those line breaks. By far the best out of any RWBY fanfiction writer. But I'm not just here to gush. If I'm just here to gush, that takes away from the whole point of the series, right? I'll be honest, when I read the goddamn, I almost said Huntsman. The Huntress and the Heiress, I was a little bit concerned that I would not be able to find any points and that she was going to win the series because she would have defeated me, the final boss. And so I was a little bit concerned, but luckily I did find really only 3 things. And I'm going to apologize right now to anybody that's a big fan of hers, to her personally. I'm nitpicking the living shit out of this. I'm so badly nitpicking when I have to make the complaints that I'm about to make because you don't leave me another option and I have a series to make, damn it. First thing, beginning and end to... she has a little bit of an issue with beginning of stories. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not like... it goes at a slower pace. It definitely goes at a noticeably slower pace, but it's not so much so to the point where it's like, oh my god, get on with it. It's still readable, but it doesn't feel... it feels too slow. It feels too slow to a certain degree. It should maybe not pick up a little bit faster, but the atmosphere should be set up a little bit faster, I think. It does detract from some of her stories, unfortunately. By the way, very liberal interpretation of the word detract. I would like to say that as well. Also, the other thing is, it's going to be a little bit more specific. Or wait, hang on. I actually forgot to say this. Transiency does one of my least favorite things that any fan fiction ever does, and it happens all the time. Let me just pull up Transiency once I remember my ABCs. Okay, H is definitely before T. Up, went past it. It's got Transiency, right? I'm not retarded? Am I retarded? I can't find it. I can't. Oh, I am retarded. Just so everybody knows, I just want to clarify that. I got to the Huntsman and the Heiress. God damn it. The Huntress and the Heiress, and I was like, oh, H. I went past it. It's not there. I'm so retarded. So, one of my biggest bones to pick, though, going away from me being retarded, this is the first real angst fic for RWBY that I am posting. Oh, hang on, sorry.
This is the first real angst fic for RWBY that I am posting, so it will be slightly different from the rest. I hope you enjoy. Warning for character death.
That kills the whole moment. Are you kidding me? I hate it when they do that. I hate it so much. I'm not going to say anything, but not seeing that moment reoccur again. But goddamn, that spoils it. That literally is a spoiler. That's such a big spoiler right off the bat. You know somebody's going to die. You know at least one person is going to die. I mean, why? I don't understand it. It's a bone that I have to pick, and a lot of stories do it. I haven't seen it again. But goddamn, that made me so angry when I read it. I had to take a moment to calm down a little bit before I read that story. Actually, that's a lie. I just got off reading Huntsman and the Heiress. I had to clean up. But I'm kidding. Huntress, god damn it. So now that the comedy hour that I really hope that you actually enjoy and don't hate me for, hanasaku shijin, using your full Tumblr URL because I'm afraid of you. So beyond that, though, endings to angsty fics, and I will say this: I'm going to spoil Howl and Transiency. If you do not want to be, if you do not wish to be spoiled, please stop. Please skip. So her oh hey diamonds. So Transiency and Howl do something very strange. The end of Transiency is accidental murder. RWBY inadvertently impales Weiss with Crescent Rose, which was still heartbreaking even though I saw it coming. Still broke my heart. And Weiss dies, and because RWBY feels guilty, she kills herself to join Weiss. End of Howl. This is not going to seem connected. Yang and Weiss have to sacrifice themselves to stop the monster. Did two people just die? Did the result of one person dying just result in a second one? She does this every single time. It's always for the same reason. Well, I think it's always for the same reason. I promise to find you on the other side because I don't want to be lonely. First of all, that line was actually really damn heartbreaking in Howl. I felt so sad when I read that. But it's a bit odd, and it's not just for that reason. The ending to her angstier fics are always odd. They always feel strange. They start to divulge into like this strange area. Gold, I also noticed this. In angstier fic, not angst, obviously, not pure angst, but an angstier fic, and in Gold, it kind of, you know, it all just came. It's a longer fic, so I will not spoil that one, but it all just came about in a weird way. That ending was strange. The ending becomes really odd, and it kind of is like, what is going on here? You know, that is. But I will say this, that is all very, very minor. I will be 100% honest, that is all fairly minor in the grand scheme of things. But it still is not as clean as it should be. The beginnings and endings, the beginnings to most of her fics, and the endings to all of her fics, not as clean as they could be. At the end of the day, they're very, very clean, they're very well executed, but they're not as clean as they could be. And I think that they could be, as scary as this is, a lot better if they were just done a little bit cleaner, if you had a little bit more time on some of these things. Which brings me to my last point, actually. My last real negative criticism here is in some of her shorter stories, she forgets to develop characters or forgets to develop characters enough. She forgets to develop characters beyond the point of name recognition. Blake in Warm Laundry, I believe. Warm Clothes? Warm Laundry? Warm Laundry was, you know, she was like being an all cute kitty cat, and she RWBY, that was technically Ladybug, technically a Ladybug fic, which was not really apparent at all, but RWBY, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a little bit, I don't know why. But with that story, you had Blake, and she's being an adorable cat bonus. We all love Blake, and we especially love Blake when she's a kitty. Wasn't developed though. It was, as weird as this is going to sound, Blake was not developed the way that she should have been for that fic. It felt too much so as though she was relying, or sorry. It felt, I said too much so, I'm sorry. It felt a little bit like she was relying more on the name recognition. We all know who Blake is, so therefore we all love Blake. But I like it. I don't like it when that happens. I like it when the authors give us something more to go off of. They give us a reason to love these characters on our own. I only ended up loving RWBY. I ended up liking Blake. And I liked how adorable she was because she was a cute little kitty rolling about in their laundry. But it wasn't what I wanted it to be. It just wasn't. It wasn't as developed as I wanted it to be. That being said, that Blake is probably still a hell of a lot more developed than 99% of the other fanfics out there. Once again, I'm nitpicking this to hell. I'm trying to make and I realize it's sounding worse than it actually is. But no, her fanfics are incredible. And she really does do amazing work, especially for how little she writes. And this Blake that I'm complaining about is being underdeveloped was still developed as hell. A lot more than most other writers would develop Blake. I give full props to Hanasaku Shijin. Just wish for a little bit more. I just, you know, left me longing for a little bit more. Tack on another 500 words to set the mood a little bit better, and I could be here raving about Warm Laundry. Not well, raving about Warm Laundry more because I love that fic. That was one of the cutest fics that I've ever read. Gold, I will say this before I end the video. Gold, it's my second favorite fanfic that I've ever read, only behind The White Rose of Vermilion. I have a new top 5. But it's my second favorite fanfic that I've ever read, behind The White Rose of Vermilion. White Rose of Vermilion's last chapter had me shaking. This one had me breathing heavily, and it had my heart rate accelerated as hell. I'm pretty sure that my neighbors called a noise complaint about my heart, because it was just that well done. And this is what her norm is. Well, not really her norm with Gold, because that's a lot longer, but this is what her norm is. She writes high quality of work. Is by and far, I would say, even looking at it on an individual story basis, putting her story up against White Rose of Vermilion, even I'd be willing to say this, putting her story against White Rose of Vermilion, putting her story against October Storm, Hypothermia of Crimson and Gold, putting it up against some of my favorite fanfics that I've read, by and far, I'm willing to freely admit this. She is the best author that the RWBY fanfiction fandom has. She is I don't know if she's the most experienced, but she's the best. She has the best mechanics. She has the best raw mechanics. I don't know how much proofreading goes into that, but she has the best raw mechanics. She has the best ability to craft stories. She has the best understanding of characters. She, simply put, is the best. And, you know, we cannot mistreat this gift. You don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. I believe that's an actual expression, but you don't want to look a gift horse in that mouth, because if you do, then you're going to lose that horse. And she is remarkable. And please, 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 this is coming from an author who, quite frankly, is probably not worthy to review your stuff. Please stick around. Please don't ever leave, because I know for certain that your stories are going to be mixed into my daily, or my routine, my fanfiction routine. I'm probably going to read a ton of your stuff coming up. Please keep writing them, because they are absolutely remarkable. And if I could draw fan art, I would, but I can't draw. So best I can do is this video, just telling you how amazing you are. 4.8. Oh, also, once again, just in case anybody was really confused there, when I do author spotlights, I grade the authors differently. I give it out of 5, like 5 stars, because I'm clever. 4.8. At the end of the day, I have to take off 2 marks. For beginnings, for ends to angsty fics, and I think angsty fics reveal a lot about who you are as a writer. And both of those account for about 1 point, maybe another half point as well. Maybe 1.5, I should say. And then there is, sorry about that. And then the other point I have to take off is for sometimes not properly taking the amount of time needed to fully develop a character. I decided to take off another point, maybe half point, depending on whether or not I think that I'm taking off a full point or 1.5 points for the beginnings and ends. And you know, that's what I have to say at the end of the day, is you are by and far the best that this community has, that this little community, well, not little anymore, that this large community has. Please keep writing, and you are remarkable. So I will be the first to sit here and gush over you. I will gush over you like I gushed over October Storm. I can already tell you this, Gold's time as an individual story getting reviewed is coming. Because I love that fanfic too much. So, with that, is going to sadly conclude this big love fest. The longest author spotlight that I have ever done, by and far. I generally struggle to get to 20 minutes, and now I'm up here 35 minutes. That's what happened when you give me really good content to work off of. So, that's going to, unfortunately, conclude this week's video. Tune in this Friday when I play Outlast in the dark again. And I haven't actually recorded it yet, but just from the part that I'm at, I can tell you guys, Planky McGee is back. He's probably gonna fuck my shit up and scare the shit out of me at the same time. And tune in next Wednesday when I'll have a new episode of Cody Talks Fanfiction to come out, and a special treat next week. Something else is happening next week. It's not an interview. I'm going to tell you that right now. I am not doing another interview next week. No, next week's episode, maybe it will come later. Who knows? Who knows what'll happen? Actually, I do, but you don't. So, I will see all of you the next
time.
Boy.